Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Carissa. I'm a life coach practitioner based in Indonesia. Now I know how hard and frustrating it can be when it comes to having a conversation with an emotionally immature parent. Because it literally feels like having a conversation with a person who have an emotional intelligence of a little kid, but trapped and given the authority to become a parent. So it is very hard to have a healthy, mature conversation with these type of parents. So it's very common that the conversation that you have with these parents end up in big fights. Now I know the easiest way to not end up in fight with these type of parents is simply to avoid having conversation with these parents. But in the same time, I also realize that it is nearly impossible to never have a conversation with these type of parents, since they love to talk and they love to get your attention so much. So in this video, I will be giving you my personal tips on how you can mentally prepare yourself before you have a conversation with your emotionally immature parent. Okay, so the first step is know your condition. Are you having a good day? How are you feeling today? Are you in a good mood? Since we all know that talking with an emotionally immature parent can be very emotionally and mentally draining, it's a good idea for you to have a good awareness of your own current emotion and mental condition. Because by you understanding your own internal condition, it will help you understand your own limits. And when you already know your limit, it makes it easier for you to figure out whether you are emotionally and mentally fit enough to have the conversation with your parent or not. So before you go into a conversation with an emotionally immature parent, make sure that you ask yourself this question first. Am I emotionally and mentally fit enough to have this conversation with my parent? And when you are feeling good enough, then you can go ahead and start the conversation. But when you don't feel that you are mentally or emotionally fit enough, then you should remember that there will always be another day where you are feeling good enough to have that conversation with your parents. Okay, so the second tip is set your boundaries. Now, once you already know your limits, now it's time for you to set a proper and firm boundaries. Now, the goal of setting boundary is not to avoid meeting with your emotionally immature parent. But the real goal of setting boundary is simply to avoid yourself from crossing your own limits. So even though that avoiding meeting up with your emotionally immature parent might be one way of making sure that you don't cross your limit, but there are so many other ways that you can set boundaries without needing to not meet up with your emotionally immature parents. So setting boundary can be as simple as you setting what time are you willing to have the conversation with your parent? How long do you want the conversation to be? What topic are you willing to talk with your parents? Or what topic do you don't want to talk with your parents? So in other words, setting boundary simply means figuring out all the requirements that you need in order for you to be able to avoid losing your temper during having a conversation with your emotionally immature parent. Now, the most important thing that you have to keep in mind about setting boundary is not you waiting for your parent to give you the boundary that you need, but it is you asserting your boundary towards your parent. Because believe it or not, it is possible to have a light, non-toxic conversation with your emotionally immature parent as long it is you that take control of the conversation. Okay, so the third and last tip is don't have any expectation of what you can get from the conversation. Let me repeat that again. Don't have any expectation of what you can get from the conversation with your emotionally immature parent. So get rid of all of those expectations, including normal expectation that normally everybody have and everybody expect, such as expecting that you will get a solution, expecting that you will get a validation from them, expecting that they will understand how you feel, or even the smallest or simplest expectations, such as expecting your parent to simply understand what you're trying to tell them. Get rid of all of those expectations. Because when you have a certain expectation, it kind of becomes a certain goal that you need to achieve in the conversation. Well, what you have to understand is emotionally immature parents are simply people who are emotionally not developed enough to be able to catch up with you during conversation, and they are also not developed enough to understand what you need from them in the conversation. And this is what makes us feel very frustrated when we are having a conversation with these parents, because they simply can't catch up with us. So by you eliminating your expectation, it automatically saves you from feeling frustrated. My suggestion for you is, when you want to go into the conversation with emotionally immature parent, you should have this one mindset. You should go into the conversation with the mindset of you are going to be talking or being in a conversation with a 5-year-old little kid, where we all know that when we are talking with a little kid, we don't have any other expectation that we can get from the conversation from them other than simply to understand what they want to tell us. So go into the conversation with your emotionally immature parent as if you are going to talk with a little kid. That way, it will make it easier for you to not have any expectation of what you can get from the conversation with your parents. Now, even after I gave you my tips, I also realized that it is nearly impossible to have a deep, meaningful conversation with an emotionally immature parent. But one thing that I know for sure is, it is very possible to have a nice, light, non-draining conversation with emotionally immature parents, as long as you are the one who is in control of the conversation. My tips will definitely help you to be mentally ready by having the right mindset before entering the conversation with your emotionally immature parents. So please do try my tips out. Thank you for watching this video. I'll continue on giving practical, useful tips on how you can deal with emotionally immature parent. So subscribe if you like, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!